So we are going to build the leg stand for the egg belt drive. So we've got our foot bracket that attaches to the leg. So we've got our foot with our threaded rod and a single nut on there. We're going to start the second one in on the top side of the foot bracket. We're going to thread that on. Okay, so now you can see that we've got all 4 legs and feet assemblies put together. So we've got our leg assemblies and our feet together. We're going to put our cross brace in. We're going to go 5 holes up. We're going to take the bolt from the inside. All right, so we've got our front brace on. We're going to take our side one. We've already counted out our holes. So we're 5 holes up. Nut on the outside again. And then we're going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side of the leg stand. So we've only got the 3 braces on the bottom. So this is the back. It does not get a brace, but we are adding what I would consider the shelf bracket for the clean out tray. Our bolt on this one has to go from the inside of the stand into the leg. We're going to do the 4th hole down, so you're going to see 3 holes. We're using the 4th hole, and there'll be one of these shelf brackets on the front and the back rail just to hold that clean out tray. Okay, so now that we've got our tray shelf slots in, we're going to take the top rail of the table and those just set on across the top of the leg. And then we're going to use the self-threading bolts to attach this to the leg, and then make sure that you get a good square table. So you want to be able to pull that back till you get square, and then go ahead and finish. So our drive unit for the egg belt comes pre-assembled. So all we did is we brought it in, set it on top of the leg stand that we just previously built. So now we are going to go ahead and put our bolts in. So the nut, slide the nut in on the bottom, screw the bolt through the top into the nut. So one thing that you want to make sure that we do, we're going to put these brackets on, and when you assemble this first frame, we should put these brackets on. They're using the self-threading screws. They get mounted on here. That'll connect our transfer through the wall to the egg belt drive. Okay, so now we're putting our transfer piece onto the system through the wall into the egg room. We're going to use a carriage bolt and our nut there. We're going to come through the inside of the transfer, and we've got our nuts already on here, but you're going to have to reach through the transfer to get everything put back together. Whenever you put this on, we've already got our carriage bolt and our nut in place here. Same on both sides, yes. Okay, so we've got our transfer attached to our frame system inside the bird area. We've attached our mounting brackets on the egg room side. There are lefts and rights for both sides. Now at this point we are ready to set our table into place. So we're just going to bring that back. We can line that all up. So as you can see, we've got our transfer and our table attached together now. I've got a straight edge flat on the tabletop here, but you can see that we've got a pretty good angle. So at this point, we've got a straight edge, and we want to make sure we level out the table so the two match up with each other. Now we are going to discuss putting in our expeller drive. So we've got to put in our drive supports, which is basically just 4 brackets that bolt into our cross arms. Again, using those self-threading bolts. We're going to do that. There's 4 of them. The other 2 are on the opposite side. I've got my nest walls in place. Our walls just set into the slots in the cross arms. If you can see right here, we have a slot that we can slide pieces in. I have a slot here on this wall, so I'm going to and then once those are all in place, we are ready to set our drive on top. So this is the way a lot of people do it out in the field. They'll have the wall with our back panel inside done prior to putting the drive on. I'm going to show you another way that's an option to be able to do the same thing. So once you have it all slid together, you can stand it up and set the pegs into the slots and the support arms. The inside where the egg belt would be and the nut towards the outside of the nest. Okay, so at this point, we are getting ready to start pulling in our egg belt, and it's kind of hard to tell, but we do have a shiny side and a dull side. Typically, if you pull off of the top of the roll of the belt, is going to give you the shiny side, and at this point we want the shiny side down, so whenever we come back around the top, it's actually on the top. So the eggs will be on the shiny side. Basically, you're going to use a sawhorse or some sort of stand similar to what we've got to put a pipe through the middle of the roll of belt, so it makes it easy to pull through the system. Then I'm going to feed the belt. I'm not going to go through any of the rollers, I'm just going underneath the rollers, and I'm going to take that belt through the inside of that transition piece that we put on earlier. So we want to pull the belt through that transition piece above our cross arm support here. So we've come through our transition piece through the wall across the top of our cross arm support. We're just going to stay above these rollers for now and pull that in through the system. So we're in the back section of our nest. We've pulled our bottom portion of the belt in. We want to make sure we feed in through underneath between the cross arm and this shaft. We're going to come around under our roller. We want to bring it back through, so those 2 belts are actually going to be touching each other for now. Okay, so at this point we've got our belt pulled in just on the bottom side. I've added our belt support rails, and then the belt support itself is just a piece of wire that sets in on top of those. At this point, we are not bolting any of this together because we have another piece that goes on top of that once the belt is in. Okay, so we're putting in our rails and our belt supports. We want to start from our idler end, putting in the belt supports. We want to skip approximately a foot to a foot and a half. This belt will not have a support underneath at the very back. The reason for that is that allows dirt and feathers to fall out of the system easier with the combination of the end roller and just not having the wire catching the feathers. So just to reiterate, we're going to skip roughly a foot here from the end roller, no wire support. We're going to bring that up, and at the ends or in our rails here have a tab. You can bend those tabs over to keep the wire support from sliding while the belt's running on it. Okay, so when we put in our belt supports, we're going to end up being short a section here. We will take our next section, just lay it in here to get a space so you can measure it however you want to do it. We're going to cut this off to the length that we need, but when you cut it off, we want to make sure the edge that we are cutting bumps up against the one behind it. We don't want it facing towards the egg belt. That way it meshes into here and blocks that sharp edge. Okay, so we've got our piece cut now. We're going to set that into place with our cut edge against the previous wire. Again, here's where we want to bend these tabs over to make sure, again, you're not necessarily going to bend it so far that it crimps it, but if the belt would ever grab it or if it wants to give, it's only going to move so far ahead. Okay, so at this point, we've got all of our wire supports in. Our next step, you've kind of got two options. So the one way you can do it is leave it like this and pull the belt in. The other option is that you can put your Z-rail or your egg belt guide in place, and then it's one bolt holds the two pieces together to the support arm. If you choose this option, you have to pull your belt in and then you have to come back and tuck it underneath the two sides to get it in the proper place. Okay, so now we're ready to pull our belt in. I'm going to feed this back around over the top of that roller and underneath this bar. And then we'll pull this back up to the egg belt drive at the front of the barn. Okay, so we are going to start putting our Z-rails in place. They are actually going to overlap into the system. They just get the self-threading screw. We're going to make sure we start from the idler end, so the back of the barn. We're going to take the one that's closer to the egg belt drive and overlap it. The purpose of the overlap is to help eliminate any sharp edges of the belt catching on it.